Yesterday we have seen multiple ways of request dispatching mechanism, and we have started the process, or we have started the discussion of session management. We have discussed that there are four ways of session tracking or session management in satellite applications. Okay, the first way is using hidden form fields. The first way of session management is using hidden form fields. Okay, and the second way of session management is using URL rewriting. The third way is using cookies, and the fourth way is using HTTP session object. Okay, let's see how we can manage the session in these different ways. Okay, the first way of session management is hidden form fields. Okay, hidden form fields. Okay, now let's consider that the application is in such a way that there is a login.html, and there is login servlet. In login.html we have username, password. Okay, in login servlet, let's consider like we have two fields, first name and last name. Okay, and in first servlet we have a form again, which has email ID, mobile number. Let's consider like this. We have login.html, which has username and password fields, and in login servlet we have two fields, first name and last name. And if we submit the form from login servlet, it will go to first servlet. In the first servlet we have two fields, email ID and mobile number. If we submit the form from first servlet, we go to second servlet. Okay, if you submit the form from first servlet, it will go to second servlet. Let's consider it this. Now from login.html to login servlet, it will be one request. From login servlet to first servlet, it will be one request. It will be some different request, and from first servlet to second servlet, it will be some different request. Now, if I could able to access the username and password in second servlet, now can we tell that in that application session is managed? If we could able to access the username and password in second servlet, can we access directly through request parameters? Can we access username and password in the second servlet through request parameters? Understood my question? Can we access username and password in second servlet through request parameters? Yes? You did not listen to the class right now, right? Just there is a login.html where username and password is there. Okay? And when we submit from login.html, the control will come to login servlet. In login servlet also there is a form where we enter first name and last name. When we submit when we click on submit button from the login servlet, the control will go to first servlet. In the first servlet again email ID, mobile number fields are there. When we click on submit, the control will go to second servlet. In second servlet, can we access username and password as request parameters? No, we cannot access username and password as request parameters. Okay, then how how we can access this username and password in second cell. Means through session tracking techniques. Understood the requirement, everybody? What, Babu? Understood the requirement? Sure? That's what I am telling you. Okay? Now, let us implement this requirement. Okay? Now, already we have login.html, login servlet, first servlet and second servlet. Let's modify them to fit into our requirement. Okay? So, login.html already has it's not our application. We have this is not required. We have login.html. Let me open this. Okay, and again we have different servlets. Okay, we have login.html first servlet. Okay, let me close this at this point. Okay, first servlet, login servlet, registration servlet and second servlet. Now let me close even registration servlet, not required at this point of time. Now login.html has username and password. When you click on submit, it will go to the login servlet. In the login servlet, okay, let me develop the code. Now, are we dispatching the same request here in this requirement? In this requirement, are we dispatching the same request from login servlet to first servlet and first servlet to second servlet? No, we are not dispatching the same request. We will develop forms so that new requests will be generated. Okay, and session management is something where we can share the information between multiple requests. Okay. Multiple requests of the same user. Okay. this I am going to the next page. Oh, form is not there, sorry. So, we have developed two fields in a form whose action is hello.first, which will go to the first servlet. And when we submit from login servlet, it will go to the first servlet where a new request is generated. So, the request which comes from login.html to login servlet is different, and the request which goes from login servlet to first servlet is different, and the request that goes from first servlet to second servlet is different. So, if you could able to share information between these requests, between subsequent requests, okay, then the session is said to be managed. Let us see how the session is managed here. Now, let me remove even this, not required at present. So, I have developed a very simple servlet here. Okay. Now, let me develop the same in the first servlet also. Rather than developing again, just let me copy and paste. It's the same thing. Yes, I have a form. In that form, there are two fields, and when we submit the form, it should go to the second servlet. Inside first servlet, equal to mobile. Just I am giving the max length as 10 just because a mobile number cannot exceed the 10 characters. This I am giving email. Okay, and this I am submitting on finish. Understood? So from the first page From the login.html, we give username and password, so those will be submitted to login servlet. From login servlet, we have another form where first name and last name is there. Okay, and from login servlet, the control will go to first servlet, and from first servlet again we give username, email ID and mobile number, and it will be submitted to second servlet. Now, if we don't manage the session, okay, by any ways, can we access the values? Can we access the request parameters that are submitted from login.html to login servlet? If you don't track the session or if you don't manage the session, can we access the request parameters that are submitted from login.html to login servlet in second servlet? No, it's not possible. Just because the request parameters or the request values will be specific to the request. So we should manage the session in this case, if this is the requirement. So we have developed this about how we can manage the session in this case. Okay. Now, if you want to manage the session, the first way is hidden form fields. Okay, in any form. Now we have two types: input type equal to text, input type equal to password. There is another type of a field where we can give input type equal to hidden. Okay, name equal to test. Okay, value equal to. So this is said to be a hidden form field. Okay, a form field whose type is hidden. Okay, this hidden form field. This is type the form fields whose type is hidden is said to be a hidden form field. Okay, hidden fields will not be displayed in the browser. But the hidden fields will be there in the list of request parameters. Hidden fields will not be displayed in the browser, but they will be available in the list of request parameters. Hidden fields will not be displayed in the browser, but they will be available in the list of request parameters. Hidden fields will not be displayed in the browser, but they will be available in the list of request parameters. Okay, so now what we do is in session tracking using hidden form fields. Okay, now what we do is we have a form. Okay, from login.html to we enter username, password, and click on submit. Okay, we click on submit from the login.html. The control will come to login servlet. Okay, even in login servlet we have first name, last name, okay, and click on submit. how we can make use of this hidden form fields means when we click on submit, our request, our username and password available as request parameters in this login servlet? Yes or no? Our username and password available as request parameters in login servlet? What man? From login.html. In which case? In any case they will be available, right? Login.html will be submitted to login servlet. In any case, username and password will be available as request parameters in login servlet. Understood? Just because from login.html we are submitting to login servlet. So in any case, from login.html we are submitting to login servlet. So username and password will be available as request parameters in login servlet. Understood? So from login servlet, okay, we send some information to first servlet. Okay, does that information include username and password? When we submit the request from login servlet to first servlet and from first servlet to second servlet, when we say we submit this form, the request will go from login servlet to first servlet. Does that information, does that request parameter list include username and password? No. Okay? So we need to include them using hidden form fields. What we do is by writing some servlet code, we'll add these request parameters and their corresponding values as hidden form fields to this form. Okay? So by writing some servlet code, what we do is we add these request parameters that are coming from login.html to login servlet. Okay? We add the request parameters that are coming from login.html to login servlet as hidden form fields in the form that is submitted from this servlet to first servlet. Understand? So what we do? Input type equal to hidden. So from login.html to login servlet we get username and password. So what we do is first name and last name anyhow they will go from login servlet to first servlet. We need not to care about them. But we should go for hidden form fields. Name equal to the same request parameter name. Else consider like it is Ravi. Okay. So now are username and password available in the first servlet? In this case, are user and password available in the first servlet? Yes. Actually, in the perspective of user, username and password are entered from login.html to login servlet, but they are available even in another request, which is from login servlet to first servlet. Now, what we will do is, when the control goes from first servlet to second servlet, again we do the same thing. Now, here we will include even first name and last name. Understand? How we will do? Now, use username and password available in the second servlet. In this case, yes or no? What you are doing? Why? How it will be available? How username and password will be available in the second servlet? What are you doing? Huh? Understood how username and password will be available in the second servlet? Yes or no? No. From login.html, username and password will be submitted as request parameters to login servlet. Understood that? Now, in the login servlet, we will develop some servlet code so that two hidden form fields are generated. This is created by the servlet code through some servlet code. Okay, in the form that goes from login servlet to first servlet. In the form that goes from login servlet to first servlet, we'll append the username and password as hidden form fields. So, from this form, from login servlet to first servlet, in that form actually there are only two fields visible. But again, two other fields which are hidden fields will be submitted. Totally, how many fields will be? How many request parameters will be there from the request that goes from login servlet to first servlet? How many request parameters will be there for a request that goes from login servlet to first servlet? Here, the control will come from login.html to login servlet. Again, the control will be transferred from login servlet to first servlet, where we have developed two input fields. One is first name and another is last name. Okay, and when we click on submit, the control will go to first servlet. Okay, again, in addition to these two visible input fields, we have two hidden fields. Okay, in this form which is generated by the servlet code. Now, in this form we have four fields, two hidden fields and two visible input fields. Then, what I am asking is, how many request parameters are submitted from login servlet to first servlet? Four request parameters will be submitted from login servlet to first servlet. Two are the visible fields and two are the hidden fields which we have generated through the servlet code. Understood? Now, again, in the first servlet, there are four request parameters available. Okay, and those four request parameters, okay, will be maintained as hidden form fields. So, here four request parameters will be available in first servlet. One is username, password, first name and last name. Again, those four request parameters will be submitted as hidden form fields to second servlet. Now, how many request parameters will be submitted to second servlet? How many request parameters will be submitted from first servlet to second servlet? So, here, in the concept of hidden form fields, what we do is, first, from login.html, the control will go to login servlet. Here we have two fields that are visible where the user enters username and password, click on submit. The control comes to login servlet. Okay? In the login servlet, again we have another form, okay, where we enter first name and last name. Okay? And click on submit. Okay? Now, when we click on submit, only first name and last name will go to the first servlet. But if you want to make username and password also available in the first servlet, what we do is, we will write some servlet code. By writing some servlet code, we will develop these two things. Input type for the hidden, name equal to username, value equal to the value set from here, the value which is typed here. Okay? In the same way, input type equal to hidden, name equal to password, value equal to the value typed here. Okay? So, how many request parameters are sent from login servlet to this second servlet when we submit this form? When we submit this form, how many request parameters or what are the request parameters that are sent from login servlet to first servlet? So, From here, there are two visible fields, and by using some select code, we have generated two hidden fields. Totally, 4 request parameters are submitted from login select to first select. Two request parameters are visible fields, that are first name and last name. Two hidden parameters are there, which are username and password. So total 4 parameters are submitted here: first name, last name, username and password. So even from here, the same thing will happen. Okay? Mobile number email will be submitted. In addition, 4 hidden parameters will be submitted. One is username, is hidden, password is hidden. Okay? And even first name and last name. Totally, there are 2 visible fields in this first select form and 4 hidden fields. 4 hidden fields, 2 from this form and 2 from this form. Okay? And totally, how many fields are submitted from first select to second select? 6 fields are submitted. Now, in this case, is the username that we entered in login.html available in the second select? Yes. So, this is how we can manage the session using hidden form fields. Understood? Let's develop this application in the select code. Now, from login.html, we have username and password, which are submitted to login page, and from login page, from the login servlet, here this is my form. I think this method is there. Please don't write. Please don't write. I think this method is there. Let me confirm that. When I'm not sure about that. Get header, get headers, get method, get path. Where it is? Get request parameter. Servlet request. There is a method get parameter names. Okay, there is a method get parameter names whose return type is a enumeration. I'm not sure whether we can make use of this enumeration in a for each loop. I did not try that. Let me try that. Please don't write. Otherwise, let me do this. Enumeration is something like it is a legacy class. Okay, it's an earlier class. Okay, it is a legacy class which was used for iteration purposes. But later on, iterator and list iterator was added to the collection API. Okay, but before iterator and list iterator were added to collection API. Okay, the entity which was used for iteration was enumeration. Okay, this enumeration is a entity which exists in util package, which is used for iteration. But currently nobody is using enumeration for iteration purposes. Since the Servlet API, since this Servlet API, Servlet related entities are developed very long back, they are still using enumerations. But nowadays they are not using enumerations. We are using iterator or list iterator based on the requirement. Okay, but the Servlet code is developed very long back. So at that time might be iterator and list iterator might not be available, so they have used enumeration. Okay. Request.get parameter names will give you enumeration which contains a collection of request parameters. A collection of request parameters. Otherwise, we'll go for a while loop. Image generates. So what we have done? Like the has next and next in case of iterator, we have has next element and next element in case of enumeration. Okay? Same like has next and next of iterator, we have has next element and next element in case of enumeration. What we are doing is, let's consider like the enumeration represent. Let's consider like there are two request parameters here, username and password. Okay, those two request parameters are there in enumeration. Username, password. Okay, has next element what will do is will check whether there are any elements after the enumeration pointer or not. So there are some. So what it will do? Input type equal to hidden. Okay, name equal to. Okay, name equal to in single quote. That has stopped here. Name equal to in single quote Let me open the single quote and the name of the request parameter. What is the first name? Username. Username. And then close the single quote. Okay. And then again after closing the single quote, what it is? Value. Okay. Value equal to, open the single quote. After opening the single quote, again what we are given, we should give, name equal to has next element, the value should be request parameter value. Sorry. Just we name it as a param name, a string variable. So name will be the param name and the value will be param name. So in the first iteration, how it will be means? In the first iteration, okay, it will check. The enumerator will check there are any elements in the enumeration or not through has next element method. It has some values. So it comes to the while loop. In the while loop, what it will do? It will get the next element. If it gets the next element, in the first iteration, it will get the first element, username. So the param name is username in the first iteration. So the input type equal to text, name equal to some param name, okay. Value equal to the value that is entered. Request.get parameter of the param name. Understood? So, like this, we dynamically enter the request parameters and the values. Understood? Understood or no? Yes or no? So, dynamically we give all the request parameters submitted from this form in this form as hidden form fields. In the submit as hidden form fields. In the same way, we dynamically generate the hidden form fields. Understood? Just I will remove that. Okay. Earlier, I have planned to make use of the for loop, but and one more thing we can do, just because the same request parameter can have multiple values. The same request parameter can have multiple values. So, in that case, what we do is we create multiple hidden form fields with the same name but values are different. Okay? Multiple hidden form fields with the same name but values are different. So, if you give username twice in this hidden form field, what happens? Two hidden form fields will be submitted to the first servlet with the same name but values will be different. How we can access both the values means using request.get parameter values. Understood what I am telling? If there is a chance that a single request parameter can have multiple values. So, we will make this application robust enough so that it can handle even multiple parameter values. So, what I will do is string array. Otherwise, let's assume for the first discussion, let's assume that there will be only one request parameter, there will be only one value for a request parameter. Later on, we will modify the application. Otherwise, it will be confusing. Okay? Let's consider like there will be only one value for a request parameter and discuss the whole session management. Later on, we will discuss that. Okay? Now, username, now how many parameters will come here? What could be the size of this en? What could be the size of this en? In the login servlet. In login servlet, the size will be 2, just because username and password will be submitted to login servlet. Okay. Now, how many parameters are submitted from the form of login servlet to first servlet? 4. Okay. Username and password. These are the 2 fields. First name and last name. Okay. Otherwise, we can do it either way also. Just I am developing the logic in either way. Just observe the coding that I am doing. Then which one do you think it is better? Understood both approaches? Just observe both approaches for a couple of minutes. Understood what I have done? Understood how we should do? Okay, just I have developed the hidden form field logic in two different approaches. Analyze those two different ways, okay, and tell which way is better, and understand the coding, what we are doing here. And if you are not getting anything, just tell me, I'll tell you. Here, quest.get parameter map dot. Just try to know about all the methods that we have used. What is the method request.get parameter? What is has next element? What is get parameter map, and what is entry set? What it will do? Do all of you have the knowledge about? Just first see all the methods that we have used from here to here. Okay? If you don't know any method, then tell me, I'll explain what that method will do. Observe all the methods that we have used. Okay? Observe all the methods that we have used in this highlighted portion. Okay? Just tell me the methods that you don't have any knowledge, I'll explain, so that we can go forward. Get parameter map. What get parameter map will do means, when we go for get parameter map means, if we don't know the request parameter name and their value, then what we do is we go for a get parameter map method of the request object, okay, where it will return a map. As we know, map will be a key value pair. Do you know that map will be a key value pair? Don't you know collections? Yeah, we have already discussed about it. Okay, there are several collections. One of the collection is map. Why we use map means to represent some key value pairs. Okay, so here get parameter map will return a map which is a key value pair. A key of the map is, let's consider like it has a map which is a key value pair. Okay, key is the name of the request parameter. Okay, and the value is request parameter values. There might be one value or multiple values for the same request parameter. So the value is an array of request parameter values. Let's consider there are two values for username. Okay, Rajesh, come on. In the same way, the key is password and the value is an array which has only one value. So this is a map, the whole is a map. There are two entries. One is the first entry and the second is the second entry. In the first entry, username is the key and array of Rajesh and Ravi are the values. Okay, and first password is the key. In the second entry, password is the key. This is one entry. This is called as an entry, and this is a entry. Okay, in the first entry, key is username and value is array of usernames. In the second entry, key is password and the value is array of passwords. Understood? Now, get parameter map will return a map. In that map, the entry set method, what it will do means, it will give a set of entries. It will give a set of entries. Okay? It will give a set of entries. Each and every entry is a key value pair. Each and every entry is a key value pair. Now, if I have 100 entries in the map, there will be 100 key value pairs. So, that 100 key value pairs will be represented as a set. Now, that set is being iterated here. Okay? That set is iterated. And that set is of type map.entry. Just because we are executing entry set will give a set of entries. Entry set will give a set of entries. So, this is one entry and this is another entry. Understood? So, there are two entries in this map. The first entry contains key as username and password as two values, array of two values. The second is password, which has key as password and value as array of password. Now, in this case, we have only one. So, just because in the login.html we have only one request parameter, that is username. Only one request parameter with the name password. Understood? So, now this set has a set of entries. This is one entry, okay, and this is another entry. Now we are iterating that set using a for loop. Using a for each loop, we are iterating that set, and each and every element or each and every entry is of type map.entry. And map is an interface. Entry is a inner class of this map. Understood? So, each and every entry is of type map.entry. Now, what is the data type of key here? String. Okay? The data type of value is a string array. So, we have given generic so that the data type of key is a string and the data type of value is a string array. Now, what is the key in the entry? What is the key in the entry? It's not the param name. We should give entry here, and in that entry the key is the username. Okay? In that entry the value is values to that username. In the first iteration, key will be the username and value will be array of values for the username. Array of values for the username. Now, in the first iteration, key will be the username and value will be the array of values for the username. A simple request parameter, a single request parameter can have multiple values. So, the value is array of values. Understood? So, in the same way, the second entry is password and the value is array of values. In this case, how many values will be there for username field? How many values will be there for username field? 1. How many values will be there for password field? 1. But now in this case, how many values will be there for username field? How many values will be there for username field? 2. So here the size will be 2. Let's consider we enter Rajesh in first field, Ravi in second field. So the size will be 2. But the request parameter will be 1, but the values will be 2. Understood? Understood? So that's how the entry set will behave. And in the first entry, what is the key? Key is the username. So in the hidden form field, we are mentioning the key as the name of the form field. And okay, value equal to, we are opening the single quote. This is a template.